Could you imagine if this current Baltimore Ravens team, especially where they're at right now, getting ready for a big playoff push, if they could get even stronger with a very familiar face who is good on the football field, but even better off? Well, it's a real possibility. And that player that I'm, of course, speaking of is Calais Campbell. Team, keep it clean. Oh, I know y'all going to love this one. Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on, and leave a like on the video because it helps out the channel a ton. We're getting closer and closer to 80,000 subscribers. Y'all help us get there. Spread the word. But anyway, let's get into this word about Calais Campbell. So it was said in a report from Barry Jackson, who's been covering the Miami Dolphins for a while, that they could potentially release Calais Campbell if the Dolphins are mathematically eliminated from playoff contention, and he could join a contender. And when I first saw that, I said, oh my goodness, the Baltimore Ravens and the Miami Dolphins, really, they got a chance to right all of their wrongs. Because if you recall, and I hate going down memory lane, especially when it's a core memory and it's a painful memory, but if you recall, on November 5th, right after the trade deadline had passed, the news came out that the Baltimore Ravens, they had a trade in place for Calais Campbell to acquire, well, I should say reacquire him from the Miami Dolphins. But at the last second, at the last minute, like it always happens, same thing happened with Derrick Henry last year at the trade deadline. But at the last second, Mike McDaniel, he stepped in, and said, nope, it ain't going down. It's not happening. Not on my watch. Calais Campbell, we want you to stay here. We want you to be a part of what we're building here in Miami. We're really trying to get into the playoffs. We're really trying to turn things around. And we think that you are going to be a big part of it. But what has happened with the Miami Dolphins since, well, they're not technically eliminated yet, but anything could happen. But for the Miami Dolphins, it probably is not going to go down. So, Miami Dolphins, just get it over with. Just let the man go. Now, of course, if Calais Campbell is released, he has to clear waivers. So, there are 31 other teams that could put in a claim for Calais Campbell. But I could see a scenario where they just allow him to be released with respect, and they let him clear waivers so he can choose where he wants to go. Now, something that's interesting, I thought this was a new conversation when it came to Calais Campbell potentially being released to join a contender, but this is actually something that's been talked about before, and this came from the Miami Herald. It says, while making clear that his focus is entirely on Sunday's game, Calais Campbell disclosed recently that before the trade deadline, he and general manager Chris Grier, general manager of the Dolphins, they discussed a scenario in which he could possibly join a playoff contender if the Dolphins are eliminated from postseason contention. So this is something that he talked about, respectfully, of course, with Miami Dolphins GM a while ago, before the trade deadline. So this is not a new scenario. So it says, weeks back, before the trade deadline, there was a small conversation. You really didn't hope would ever become a thing. I tried to make my Calais Campbell voice deep, but it just ain't work. He said it was just something to talk about. Nothing concrete. I don't know if we're there just yet. It's definitely something you think about. It's a lot of moving parts. We're kind of staying in the moment, but it's definitely something you have to think about. So Calais Campbell is obviously on his mind. But back to the article. It said if the Dolphins lose on Sunday, they wouldn't necessarily be mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. But if the Broncos beat the Chargers on Thursday, the Dolphins could lose to the 49ers and still make the playoffs with wins at Cleveland and the Jets, 2 Chargers losses, 2 Colts losses, and a Cincinnati loss. So Dolphins need a lot to go down in order to make the playoffs. They need a whole. See, this is where I'm just really grateful to be a Ravens fan. But anyway, NFL Network reported that Dolphins nearly traded Campbell to the Baltimore Ravens for a 5th-round pick just before the November 5th trade deadline before Mike McDaniel intervened and convinced management not to trade him. So, yeah, y'all already knew that. But, yeah, it just had to give you a nice, nasty reminder of what happened back then. Now, with Calais Campbell, he last played for the Ravens a couple of years ago. And Ravens, they decided, you know what, Calais, we're going to go younger at the position. We love you, and it's all respect. It's all love. Thank you for everything you did for this organization. But we're going to take it a different route. And you know what's crazy? In the 2 years since Calais Campbell has left the Baltimore Ravens, he's actually been performing statistically better. He performed statistically better for the Atlanta Falcons, and then his numbers are even they better for the Dolphins too than they were for the Baltimore Ravens. That's crazy, right? Because you would think somebody who's another year older, another year seasoned in the NFL, like they would not necessarily fall off, but the numbers would dip a little bit, their production would dip. But to Calais Campbell say, oh, Ravens, y'all want to release me? Okay, watch this. I got you. I got something for that. So Calais Campbell has been doing this thing. And normally, like, if Ravens let somebody go, especially if it's an older player, if it's a player that okay, you moving on, okay, no problem. he ain't got to come back. That's how I would normally feel. But Calais Campbell, the man can still play. He can still play. And think about this. If you add Calais Campbell to a group with Nnamdi Madubuike, with Travis Jones, with Michael Pierce, with Broderick Washington, who has been stepping up, also with Brent Urban, that just gives you that much more quality depth. And that's the name of the game. He's somebody that can start. He's somebody that can come be a role player. He's somebody that can do a lot of different things for your team. So now with Odell Beckham Jr., when Dolphins released I was like, nah, I don't know. Good for the locker room. On the field, though, I don't feel like he would really add anything to the Baltimore Ravens like that. But in the locker room, he'd be great. But it's about more than that. But Calais Campbell, he would give you that double whammy where he's great in the locker room, but still great on the field, too. I can't wait to see what happens with Calais Campbell, but I'll be patient in what goes down. But anyway, let's look at what went down on the Baltimore Ravens injury report for Wednesday's practice. They got a lot of names on here. Nelson Agholor, he did not practice, dealing with a concussion. No surprise there, because when Lamar threw him that pass against the Giants, nice catch, by the way, Nelson Agholor, but when he landed right on the back of his head and he kind of like bumped, then we knew something was off, and he immediately took himself off the field, and then I don't think he played again after that. Jalen Davis, he didn't practice. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. Rashad Bateman was limited with a foot injury. Daniel Falele was limited with a knee injury. Justice Hill didn't practice. They did say it's personal, though, so no injury right there. Adisa Isaac practiced in full. Deonte Johnson, well, y'all already know what time it is with him. Sanusi Kane practiced in full. Adafe Away was limited. TJ Tampa, he practiced in full. And Ardarius Washington, he was limited. So a long a long injury report for Ravens practice. Not the worst news, though. We still got a couple of days before the game, so guys could get a little healthier. So now we done got to my favorite part of these questions. So now we got to my favorite part of these videos where we get to feature your questions. If you'd like to take part in it, you can send an email to teamkeepitclean@gmail.com, or for the Team Keep It Clean patrons, you can send your question directly in a DM on Patreon. And if you would like to join it, you can go to patreon.com/Ingravenvids, or if you want to send your question in another way, you can send it directly to our P.O. Box. The address is down below in the description. First question came from my guy Malik. He said, hey, how's it going, Ingraven? Hope you and your family are well. We are really, really good, Malik. I appreciate it. He said, hopefully this question makes it into one of your videos before the game. But here it goes. With Nelly still out with a concussion, would this be the game we heavily include Tez Walker into the game plan on? Heavily, I don't see that. But, I mean, hey, with the Ravens, I was even surprised that he was out there in the first place. So, but I don't really see that. Will the Ravens even be like going heavy in the air like that against the Pittsburgh Steelers? They could, but to heavily involve Tez Walker, I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it, but I don't see it happening. But with Nelly being out and Deontay Johnson never going in, anything's possible. Anything's possible. But then there's still Tylan Wallace. But yeah, your depth is that much thinner now with those two potentially being out. So hey, we'll see. But anyway, continuing. He said, let's see what he can do against a top defense, or will we go more with Wallace in that wide receiver 3 slot? Yeah, that's a good question. So it all depends on how the Baltimore Ravens will be feeling. He said, from the practice footage I've seen, he looks to be working with the starters more. I'm interested in your thoughts about that. Yeah, this could be an opportunity for him. And again, with John Harbaugh, he could have been seeing what Tez Walker did on special teams, and just been seeing the effort that he gave there and been like, okay, you deserve some more opportunities. Let's see what you got. He said, sorry for the long message, but since it's my first one, I thought I'd come in with a bang. Enjoy your day. And like the Chiefs three-peat hopes this year, I'm out. Yeah, that's true, because Ravens winning it all. Well, another first time. The next question came from my guy TKO Tass. He said, to start off, love the vids, man. Appreciate it, TKO. He said, now I love the Ravens a lot. Love Lamar, but you already know it's something crazy coming. Whenever somebody start off a question with either I love the Ravens or I love Lamar, right after that, but that's when it's always something crazy. He said, but if we miss the Super Bowl this year, not going to happen, but I'm going to continue your question anyway. He said, do you think Lamar will be out of excuses, being as though we have the weapons to make it far? So we got the weapons to make it far, but are you saying we ain't got the weapons to make it far enough? But no, they'll be straight. We ain't going to have to worry about your question, because the Ravens are not only going to make it, but they're going to win it too. But everything to me, it would depend on how. Now, this is like null and void scenario, because it's not going to happen, but it would depend on how they lost or how they didn't make it. What was it because of? Everything would be It would need context. Next question came from a new Team Keep It Clean patron. He became a Team Keep It Clean patron, but he had sent his question after we had already made the video, so it just missed it. My apologies. But it came from my guy, Eddy K. Appreciate you, Eddie, becoming a Team Keep It Clean patron, by the way. He said, "What's up, Ingraven? I appreciate you, man. Been watching since the Madden troll car video days." Ooh, that's a long time ago, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. He said, "Your guy, Ghetto Vegan, used to ask a million questions." Oh, you were around for him. Yeah, that was my guy. And yeah, he used to ask a lot of questions, but what I appreciated about him was the way that he broke things down and the way that he saw stuff, because a lot of what he saw with the Baltimore Ravens, he would always be spot on with it. So that's my guy, man. So shout out to him. He said, "My question is, what would you like to see our defense do more of this week against the Steelers?" Get takeaways. Get takeaways. Sack Russell Wilson. With Justin Fields not bite on the obvious. If they doing one of those run pass options with Justin Fields and he takes off, tackle him. Like, he needs to be the focus on auto, because he always keeps the ball on all those plays. He needs to be the focus, man. But anyway, he said, "We're a pretty balanced team. I think we should get Likely involved a bunch this week." Whoa, he said, "I see us winning by 20 or more." Ooh, I hope you're right. Hey, as long as they win, I'm cool. But if they win by 20 or more, ooh, I would love that. He said, "Keep up the good work. And just like any doubts we should have about this game, I'm out." Next question came from my guy, AM Gang, who is also a Team Keep It Clean patron. I appreciate you. He said, "What's up, Ingraven? Hope you and the family are doing well. My question is, so last year the Ravens were 13-4. I thought they would go far. Like last year, like to the Super Bowl." And yeah, we all did. He said, "And I'm pretty sure you did too." I did. So last year compared to this year, you said the Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how much more do you think the Ravens are going to win this year than last year, because they had a way better record last year?" Oh, 20 times more. The reason I say that, though, because Ravens last year, Kyle Hamilton said it. He said it for me, so I ain't even had to say it. But he brought it to my attention because I wasn't even thinking like that. But last year, the Ravens, yeah, they went 13-4. One of the games that they lost, they weren't even playing starters. That was the last game of the season against the Steelers. But Kyle Hamilton said it best. He said the Baltimore Ravens last year, they were not battle-tested. See, my daughter, she want to get in the video too. But they were not battle-tested at all. They were steamrolling through teams. They were just beating everybody bad. Their starters lost 3 games last year. Their starters already lost 5 games this year. So this year is not even finished. We still got 3 games left. And they already lost more games this year with their starters than they did the whole season last year. So that says a lot. But Kyle Hamilton saying they weren't battle-tested like that, but they certainly have been this year. And another thing to remember, they've gone against a lot of the NFL's best teams, especially on the AFC side. They went against the Chiefs and went toe-to-toe, literally, with the Chiefs, because they lost by the toe to Isaiah Likely. Remember that. They went against the Bills, and the Bills, like, one of the top teams in the league right now, and they dog-walked the Bills. It was 35-10, I think. They went against the Steelers, getting ready to go against the Steelers again. So the Ravens they went against some tough teams. They've also lost to some teams like the Browns, who are bad, the Raiders, who are bad. So that's been rough. But they also went against the Eagles. Eagles, one of the top teams in the NFC. Some people feel like they're number 1. Some people feel like they're number 2. So Ravens have went against a lot of good teams this year. They beat some and they lost to some. But again, with the playoffs, it's a completely different season. It's a completely different ball game. So all you got to do is get in. But the Ravens going to not only get into the playoffs, but like I said, they're going to win everything after that. Next question came from my guy, Deven, who is also a Team Keep It Clean patron, which I appreciate. Thank you, my friend. He said, "Is Deonte Harty a healthy scratch at this point?" No. He's on injury reserve, and they're not going to bring him back. It was something that they tried this offseason. They tried it. It didn't work. And I think that they might have actually been looking for a reason to be like, all right, this ain't working. Let's put him on injury reserve because we're going to go with some other options. As a return man, I remember I was thinking like, oh, yeah, we got an official return man. Oh, yeah, this is going to be a nice piece to put in here for the Baltimore Ravens on special team. But it didn't work. And him being from Baltimore too, so he got to play for his hometown team. And now he's still on the team, of course, but he just on injury reserve. But it just didn't work out. So yeah, that's what it was. He said, "I feel like we were excited to have a good return man like Duvernay, just for him to barely have any splash plays this season." Yeah, so that's it's over now. He said, "Also, this Steelers game is a must win. I'm tired of my Steelers friends saying 1-9 every time I try to talk trash." Yeah, us Ravens fans, we can't talk no trash to no Steelers fans because Steelers just been dog walking the Ravens for years, man. So this is a must win game. Again, this game got big stakes in it because Ravens win, they in the playoffs. They don't need no help from nobody. They don't need nothing. If Ravens win this game, they in the playoffs. But if Ravens also win this game, they end up being tied with Steelers for first place in the AFC North. And if the Ravens win out the rest of their 2 games, and the Steelers lose at least one of their next 2 games, and they play the Chiefs, and I forgot who they play in the next game. But if the Ravens win their next 2 and the Steelers lose one of the next 2, then the Ravens would win the division. Next question came from my guy Brian, who is also a Team Keep It Clean patron. He said, now that's what I'm talking about. He was in the house for that game at MetLife, and when Lamar reversed field and I saw the door was wide open, I literally pulled my hamstring, jumping out of my seat, screaming, run. Great game still. I hope your hamstring doing all right, Brian. He said, but my question is, if the Ravens win out and somehow win a division, finishing 3rd and Buffalo finishing 2nd, do you think that will be enough for Lamar to win the MVP again over Josh Allen? No. He said the Ravens did blow them out early in the year. People don't care about that. He said, and Lamar's statistics overall are better. That's true. He said ESPN's pushing that Allen for MVP narrative hard, saying it's over. Vince Carter. Now, no. If Ravens win a division and finish out, that wouldn't be enough. The Bills, Josh Allen would have to fall off hard in these last 3 games. He would have to have like some of the worst 3 games of his career for people to even think about not giving him the MVP. It does seem like they like, all right, Josh Allen, here, we're just going to give this MVP. Just take it. Because, yeah, Lamar Jackson's numbers are better, but Josh Allen's record is better. And we know it's not all about numbers. It's about record. It's about numbers. It's about impact. It's about so much stuff. But record is number 1, and the stats are number 2. It's sort of like a 1A, 1B type of thing. But Josh Allen, his numbers are nice. His impact is nice. The touchdowns is nice. All that's nice. Lamar's are better. They're prettier and whatnot, too. The ratio is crazier. The yards is more. The rushing yards is more. The passing yards is more. The passing touch, all that stuff. But with Josh Allen, that record changes so much. Because remember last year, Lamar Jackson, he ain't had the prettiest numbers. I think, what was it, 27 and 7? Something like that. I forgot. Or 24. He threw 24 passing touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Had a good amount of rushing yards and whatnot. So it wasn't all about the numbers. So I don't want Ravens fans to be like, all right, well, Lamar got better numbers now, so he should be the MVP. I think he should, but we got to remember how Lamar won it last year too, because it wasn't all about the numbers, and we know that. It was about the record. It was about that stretch at the very end of the season. That's what makes a big impact, and it's recency bias, of course. There's voters fatigue. A lot of people won't want to vote Lamar like 2 years in a row. They'll be like, oh, man, this dude just won it. Do we need to really vote him again? So it's a lot of that stuff that goes into it. So, but, yeah, I don't think, like, the Ravens could win out, and they should. They need to. That'd be great, and hopefully they do. But they will need not only that for Lamar to get an MVP, but for Josh Allen to just really fall off a cliff statistically. Next question came from my guy Omar, who is also a Team Keep It Clean patron. He said, hey, Ingraven, hope everything is good for you. There were a lot of encouraging takeaways from the Giants game. There have been plenty of comments about how the defense has been performing better since the Cincinnati game. One thing that stands out is the number of defensive snaps that Tavius Robinson, Chris Board, Malik Harrison, and of course Ardarius Washington are getting. Ardarius has played 100% of the snaps since the Cincinnati game. I feel like this unit is going to continue playing good ball and peak by playoff time. This defense is a Super Bowl caliber unit as long as they can avoid those 15-yard penalties. Oof, yeah, that the penalties got to get cut down, but the defense has been a million times better than they were in the first 10 weeks. He said it was nice to see Tez Walker get a touchdown catch, but Rashad Bateman was the most encouraging aspect of the game. His big playability and connection with Lamar have grown tremendously over the season. When Bateman is involved in getting touches, it's a major factor in the offense performing at its highest level. It really, really is, because it opens things up for everybody. Because if Zay Flowers is going off, then a lot of times Zay Flowers will be going off for a half, and then defenses will key in on him, and then boom, Zay Flowers will disappear. Sometimes the Ravens, they just forget to keep him involved anyway, so they make it easier. But when Rashad Bateman is going off too, that makes life so much better for the Baltimore Ravens. He also said, my question to you is, were you impressed with the snaps Andrew Voorhees got late in the game? It was a small sample size, but he seemed to be moving well. Do you think the Ravens are open to rotating him in, or are they more comfortable sticking with the 5 they start the game with? As always, I appreciate your insight, my brother. Hey, appreciate that, Omar. As far as Voorhees, I don't think that the only chance that the Baltimore Ravens have of making any changes to the offensive line is if they do something that they did in 2012 when they went on that playoff run and won a Super Bowl. And that's if they end up just switching some stuff up for the playoffs. Will they do that, though? That's a great question, and I just really, really don't know. As far as, because Andrew Voorhees was in there, Ben Cleveland was in there. Falele, he was still in there, too. And I know a lot of people are like, man, why they playing Ben Cleveland at center? Why don't just try him out at guard? And Harbaugh, what you doing and whatnot? And I get it, man. But you know how Harbaugh is, man. He gonna stick to his guns, and his offensive line is his offensive line. But I'm real curious to see if they end up making a change like that for the playoffs. Next question came from my guy John. He said, Ingraven, do you feel like this Deonte Johnson is another Antonio Brown? I feel like as if the Ravens don't need this kind of drama going into the postseason. Well, I mean, you see, he got suspended for the first week, and then they mutually agreed to not have him at practice or with the team this week. So, I mean, I feel like they're doing everything that they possibly can to sort of keep him away from the team, but keep him on the team all at the same time. So I wouldn't be surprised if they end up, all right, we mutually agreed to keep him away from the team for the rest of the regular season. Something crazy like that, because I don't see him catching another pass for the Baltimore Ravens. Anything, of course, is possible. I was hoping that they would be able to mend their relationship and fix it so he can help out the team, but it just does not seem like that's going to go down at all. Is he another Antonio Brown, though? No, not at all, because Antonio Brown, like, Deontay Johnson got some numbers, but he ain't got no Antonio Brown type of numbers. Next question came from my guy BigJon. He said, this is my first time writing in. Hey, appreciate that, John. He said, I just had a question that I still don't comprehend, which is stat-wise, highlight-wise, and all around. Why is Josh Allen favored to win the Heisman over Lamar Jackson? Whoa, hold up, BigJon. You went a little too far back. Heisman is for college, but you talking about the MVP. But anyway, as far as that, it's because of the record. It's the record. It's the record. It's the voters' fatigue. It's that, and Josh Allen, he do got some nice numbers. Again, Lamar Jackson's numbers are, I think they all better. Again, yards, touchdowns, passing touchdowns, rushing yards. I think Josh Allen got him in rushing touchdowns though, because he got a lot of little tush pushes or whatnot. But then he got them goal line 1 yard runs. But hey, a touchdown is a touchdown. So, because I know if Lamar had a bunch of those, then we would be cheering for him and screaming all that stuff and celebrating it and whatnot. So, but yeah, that's what the biggest thing is the record. That's what it is that changes Josh Allen being in the lead to Lamar Jackson being behind him. He said, anyway, thank you for always staying true to the Lord and keep up the good work. Appreciate that, BigJon. Thank you, man. And next question. Oh, this was a little surprise email. This actually came from my cousin. And not just like, you know how black people, we always call everybody our cousin, but this actually like my cousin, blood cousin, family cousin, my guy Marcus. He said, what's up, cuz? What's up, baby? He said, I'm stopping by just to say hi. I'm proud of you and the work that you're doing. A couple of people up here have been keeping up with your work and say big ups. Go Cliff and Cornell. Those are my guys back in the day, man. So shout out to y'all, man. Appreciate y'all. He said, you know, this is one of my favorite games of the season. I won't get to watch it because of my work schedule, but I will watch a recap afterwards. Keep up the good work, your big cuz Marcus. Hey, I appreciate that. And yeah, hey, you better have them at your job. You better tell them turn on the TV, tell them turn on the radio, so you could see something. We don't need you getting too distracted, because I know your work is very, very important, and it's very, 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 very critical, and it's very, very like it's to the T. But I appreciate you, and tell all of them that I appreciate them as well, and appreciate you chiming in, man.